Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thanks so much for joining me here again. We're going to take a look at Cocos, and just before we do, peek over at Bitcoin, see what's going on with that guy. I think it's important to understand really what's going on with Bitcoin here. Now, Cocos does appear to be moving a little independent of Bitcoin for the moment, but it could just be that that last minute increase. But what we want to show you here, first of all, is on the one-day charts. And if you look at the previous behavior for Bitcoin, when it had this first major sell-off on the El Salvador candle, we saw a dead cat bounce where the price came up, essentially rejected out and progressed downwards. We may be seeing the shapings of that right now, where the price comes up, gets rejected out by 52,500 or 52.3, the previous resistance level, and essentially comes back down to this lower range here. Okay, so that's a potential option. I think that's something we can't rule out. Another thing to note too is that Bitcoin's given us a lot of false positives recently. Comes up, right back down, up, right back down, up, right back down. So we got basically these little 2 or 3 little pumps, right, where they worked out for like 2 or 3 days in a row. So 2 days, 3 days, 3 days. Every one of them resulted in a dead cat bounce. Okay, so it's just kind of the theme right now. I would not be surprised if we see it come back down again. So I'm not super stoked about Bitcoin being where it's at. I think if you are in the profits for a majority of other coins, like Matic, for example, you should have taken profit by now. Handful of others that are doing very well right now, independent of Bitcoin, right? At least somewhat independent. They're moving 3, 4, 5x of where Bitcoin's done so far. Just keep this in mind. And I brought this to my attention of my patrons recently. On Sunday, we had a 3% correction from Bitcoin. Actually, it's 3.5%. And that occurred in, I think, about a 3-hour time frame. The reaction to these other altcoins was somewhere in the range of 10 to 15% on average. So that's literally 3 to 4x down to the downside when Bitcoin comes down. So just bear that in mind. There's like this crazy hypersensitivity going on right now with altcoins. So if they're jumping up right now, you can bet your butt they're going to jump down if Bitcoin sells off. My speculation is that Bitcoin is going to come closer to 48,000 in the near future here. If nothing else, test that and then possibly lose that as a support. I'd like to see 48 be the bottom. And if so, let's just say it was. That's 5, almost 6% from the price action's at right now. 6% correction according to 3 to 4x. Yeah, you can do the math. That's almost 20% loss on some altcoins, somewhere in the range of at least 10 to 15%. So just bear that in mind. That's a very strong likelihood. So all the behavior, everything we've seen in the last 2 or 3 days, this slow progression upwards for altcoins could be erased almost completely if Bitcoin drops right now. Okay, I just want to bring that to your attention, not to kind of try to scare you. It's just it's a reality. It's all we have to be aware of. Okay, and that could be that'll filter into coins like this too. Okay. So that being said, let's take a look at Cocos. Oh, just before we do, I'm not a financial advisor, just love teaching people to trade, right? I don't know if you've noticed that yet or not, but I just truly am passionate about trading and helping people become better. I have a trading community for that design purpose. It's currently available through Patreon, but month end, we're going to transition over to a website version to have a lot more functionality, a lot more user friendliness for our members. So there's that. But also note too that I've been trading for over 15 years and I really want to help you become better traders. So if you learn a thing or two here today, feel free to comment below. Taking a look at the moving averages here, this is one saving grace here for Cocos. I like the fact that we have the 50-day set moving average working its way up. It's close to the previous all-time high, and we'll look at smaller time frames, but this was a nice little all-time high, a little resistance channel. Now it's a strong support channel. Okay, so we should see that work continuously as a strong support. Coincidentally, the price came down and bounced right off of it. So we're looking good there in that sense. We're back up over 50 on the RSI, so I like that as well. Granted, this one-day candlestick hasn't closed yet, but we're progressing towards positive things here. Looking at the 4-hour, we can see we're kind of squeezed in between this potential death cross. And I hate to use that term, but it's such a normal thing right now. A lot of coins that are overextended, getting hit hard from Bitcoin sell-off, they're coming down here to get pushed down even harder. Now, again, this is a potential thing that could occur. It's more so a phenomenon. Sometimes something happens, sometimes something doesn't. But when it does happen, it's more likely to happen to the downside than the upside. Okay, and that's the reason why, is because the 50-day simple moving average works as a resistance. It's more consistent as a resistance level than the 200. Okay, so we should expect to see the price action kind of get pushed down, probably just closer back down to 177 eventually. That is a potential option here. Is it going to happen? We don't know, but it's a likelihood, right? Same thing with the RSI too. If you look at this here, we can see RSI is back up over 50. That's awesome news. If we can stay above 50 and kind of effectively stay above for a little bit longer than it's at right now, like get the price to close hopefully above 280, we'll be in pretty darn good shape here. Because it does look like 280 is working as a resistance level, and it was a previous support, so we can kind of identify the fact that may continuously work as a resistance. We'll see soon what happens there. Looking at the Ishimoku cloud, this one's going to tell us kind of a lot. So this is a good sign. All right, let's look at this here. There's a positive here. We definitely got to the price above the cloud. Check number one. Check number two, the conversion line is above the baseline. And check number three, we've got this guy here. The lagging span has not intersected with the price action yet. In fact, we're probably about a day away from that happening. So I'm not telling you to take a long position now. I'm just telling you that this tells us if you have a long position open, that you want to consider keeping it open to let this, let it come to play. In other words, when you are considering exiting your position, you'd look for two things. You would look for the conversion line to be below the baseline. That's exit number one. Exit number two, which happens more frequently before the conversion lines occur, is for this price action to intersect with any of the price. So as soon as it hits any one of these prices, then it's considered a sell signal. But right now we don't have that sell signal. We just have a strong resistance at 280 kind of holding the price down for the moment. So again, all good things here for Ichimoku Cloud. Not necessarily, again, a buy signal, just letting you know you're not necessarily wanting to sell your position just yet. We also got some nice consolidation patterns here on the 1 hour. I like this. This is very healthy. So ultimately, Cocos has some pretty good micro behavior, right? The small term is looking good, short term, right? So I'd say the next 10 to 12 hours, granted Bitcoin does not sell off heavily, Cocos should continue to progress upwards. However, on the inverse, just know that the macro is not looking favorable in that sense. There's more bearish than bullish signs, and we got to respect that in the fact that the death cross might come to fruition here soon on the 4 hour chart, which I would say in the next couple of days. And of course, the 1 day kind of shows a descending pattern as well, which even though we're close to the bottom, you just got to be aware of the fact that we could drop even further. And this is one thing that's interesting. When the closer to the bottom you get, the more exponential your gains or your losses become, right? So if you look at this right now, say the price were to come back down to just say the support that was tested, mind you, just yesterday, we would be looking at a 36% decrease. Okay. So don't just jump in arbitrarily thinking that this is you're close to the bottom, it's all good. Because when you look at the big picture, yes, it's exponential, right? You could essentially get some tremendous gains. But if the bottom drops out right here, just say from Bitcoin, and we experience a sell-off, Cocos will feel that as well. And we have a strong support level between 160 and 170, sorry, 160 and 180. But you just got to understand that, right? I'm just trying to bring this to your attention so you can trade more safely and effectively. So I guess my takeaway here is that on the short term, it looks good. Granted, Bitcoin doesn't, drop like a rock. But big picture, we're still not on the doghouse yet. And when you see a coin that has this kind of behavior, I'd much rather invest in a coin that is just breaking its all-time high. And just say, just close on its all-time high, and it's on the 1 day candlestick, and it's right at that point where it could take off. You're more likely to get a return on investment for a coin like that than you are a coin that has this much potential. All right, and the main reason why, it flew too close to the sun, 911% increase in 2 trading days. Get real, right? We cannot expect that to happen again. Yes, it could. There's potential there, but you're basically gambling if you do that, right? So don't put your whole bag into this. That's all I ask. All I recommend is to make sure you dollar cost average if this is a coin you invest in and you feel like it's definitely a big picture coin for you. That's all well and good, but try not to get too greedy. Take your profits while you still can. I think there's a lot of room for growth for Cocos, but we're not out just yet. The macro is looking not so good, where the micro is looking decent. Okay, take that how you will. I hope that works out well for you, and thank you so much for joining me here. I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Be sure to join my Patreon community so we can all learn and grow together. You have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.